Welcome to another episode of Nerd to Nerd, the podcast that encourages you to let your inner nerd out. I'm Lee.
And I'm Binks.
And it's Happy Pride, so Happy Pride, Binks.
Happy Pride.
June is my favorite month, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
For two reasons.
All right.
Because it's Pride,
Yes.
and because it's my birthday month.
Well, there you go, too.
So this is our second episode, and I just wanted to ask you, I hope this is not too much of a personal question, but I wanted to ask you how you feel now that our cherry's been popped. Our podcast cherry. Let me qualify that.
You might need to clarify.
Let me clarify that.
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like we are kind of figuring this out, and it's only going to get better from here. So
yeah. Overcoming the noisy garage door neighbors
and
downstairs.
the barking dog.
And the 100-pound barking dog. And the stomach growling.
Yes.
and we managed to concentrate through all those things. So
yes.
I agree. It's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So
what are we doing this episode?
Well, first things first, we already said it was Happy Pride. So we're going to talk about a few Pride-related things, including some comic books that are coming out from both DC and Marvel, and also some Earpenings, some things that are happening in the Wynonna Earp fandom, including our one-on-ones with Kat Burrell.
The Kat Burrell.
And then, some of the things that we've been nerding out about, such as A Quiet Place Part 2, which I saw in the theater for the first time in over a year, which was wonderful. And then we're going to do a semi-deep dive into a docuseries on HBO Max called Equal.
Celebrate Pride Month.
Yep. So what are some of the things that you've heard about that are coming out for Pride? All the companies, they love to put their marketing, spin on everything. Everything comes out rainbow.
Isn't Lego coming out with a Pride set?
Yeah, they actually already have. It came out on June 1st, and it's a set that's called Everyone is Awesome, which is pretty cool because I don't know if you saw the first Lego movie, but
I didn't.
There was a song in it, Everything is Awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so this new set it's a rainbow. It's all the colors of the Pride flag, the current Pride flag with the rainbow colors, the pastel blue, pink, black, brown, and white, I think, are the colors.
Yeah.
It's 346 pieces, and they're selling it for $34.99. But it looks really cool. I love Legos, so I will most likely be purchasing this one.
Yeah. I was too old when Legos came out, so I never got to play with them.
Oh, really? I still play with them as an adult.
Yeah, I mean, I would, but it's just one of those, I just never got into it. But the set looks really cool. I think I read somewhere that it was actually designed by one of the queer employees, and he just made it for himself and put it on his desk, and they kept walking by, and everybody would say, that's cool, we want one of those, and eventually they decided they were going to go ahead and distribute it as a company. So
that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to honor Pride Month.
Yeah. Another couple things that I just found today were DC and Marvel. They're both coming out with LGBTQ plus comics.
Nice.
Yeah.
Comics have always been a nerd staple.
Yes.
But now they're acknowledging the fact that they've written these queer superheroes and queer characters for, a number of years.
Yes. For years and years. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about comics is that they have traditionally always given characters that are out of the norm, like especially Marvel. Marvel has focused on queer characters for quite a while. They have a very rich history of queer characters, and it was a way for them to showcase characters that you wouldn't see in other mediums. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Cool.
So, Lee.
Yeah.
Did you talk to anybody cool today? Anybody special or?
Well, I guess.
You guess?
I guess.
I think you need to know.
Oh, I know. Yes, we Binks and I both got to talk to in separate, obviously separate one-on-one calls, but we both got to talk to the lovely Catherine Burrell, who, if you're not a NERPer, she plays a high-profile queer character on our show, Wynonna Earp. She is Sheriff Nicole Hott, and one half of the Way Hot ship. And they, obviously we've mentioned it. They are now married. But this is my, and I think I mentioned this last week, but it's my third time speaking with Kat, and again, it was a delight. She's an absolute delight, such a wonderful human being, and just giving of her time.
Yeah, so generous and so down to earth.
So sweet. She cares about all of us. I mean, just immediately engaging with me and asking me questions, and mentioned the podcast, and
I did too.
Yeah. And then she looked at me with those big brown eyes, and I completely lost it. And I don't remember what I said after that. But it's fine. Everything is fine.
She does have that effect, doesn't she?
She does. Yes.
One thing I made sure to tell her while I was on my one-on-one with her was how much I appreciated her saying that she wasn't going anywhere, even if the show doesn't come back.
I know I got a chance to, I kind of cut the small talk off pretty quickly because I know that the 3 minutes go by, super fast.
Yeah.
And I told her I want to get this out before I forget it. And I told her, how much, the fans love her and how much we appreciate the fact that she takes such good care of the queer character that she plays, and her and Dom, she and Dom care so much about the community, and just she met and she thanked me and said that they were happy with, we were happy with the wedding, and that they were very happy with it, and then she felt proud of that episode. I'm like, you should feel proud of the entire work that you do, because
absolutely,
it really does make a difference. And
and when I talked to her as well, she asked me what I had been up to, and I said, well, I actually just saw my first movie in a theater in over a year, which she was excited about because she has seen the first Quiet Place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so she was saying how her husband Ray is like chomping at the bit to go to the theater. But unfortunately, they're still somewhat on lockdown. I guess their grocery stores are now starting to open. I think that's what she said, grocery stores. And then she assumes that theaters will be about a month out for them.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Another opening that happened this weekend, actually. The New Yorkers bought a billboard it wasn't Times Square, but it was, I think, the next block over, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Not 100% sure about that. I don't know my New York street geography. But they bought a billboard that was several smaller billboards across the front of a building, and then one larger one above it, and then a very tall, skinny billboard. So it all made one image.
Right.
And they put it on Instagram Live, and there were Earpers there, and there were some folks walking by and wondering what was going on. So they were recruiting new Earpers. They were passing out flyers, and it lasted for about 5 minutes, and then we have a mobile billboard truck that we've all contributed to in multiple cities, but the one in New York was there as well. So they continued the IG Live and stood by the truck until the New York City Police Department showed up. We think they were asked to move.
Oh my
because the IG Live quit, or the IG Live ended.
Oh wow.
But then they came back on a little bit later, and they were in the park kicking the rubber rotisserie chicken through the park.
Well, so chicken kicker. I'm wearing my chicken kicker shirt today right now. So
I need to get one of those. I don't have a chicken kicker yet. But yeah, so we had a big meeting. We call it a meeting. We're not an official fan club, but we might as well be, because it feels like we have a board of directors or whatever. But we had an official call or video last night talking about the status of the show, and trying to encourage everyone to continue to tweet and be visible. The gist of it is basically what we've all pretty much known, from the beginning, is that, we need an American distributor to pick up the show.
Mm-hmm.
The financials hopefully are still there. The commitment from IDW, or it's not IDW. Damn it. The commitment from 724 Films, and what's the name of the? It is IDW.
IDW is the comic book company, yeah.
Yeah, so the commitment from IDW, the comic book company, and 24/7 Films is still there. The financial backing, that, as far as we know, is still there. We just need a distributor, and it's a tough sell only because, our show isn't the ratings
juggernaut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's never been high in the ratings. It's a very niche, very core kind of genre, and a ton of dedicated fans.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that actually leads me into my gaming call with Emily Andrews from last weekend. So,
oh yeah,
we played Trivia Murder Party, and that was a fun game actually. I think there were 10 of us on the call total, or it was 8 of us with Emily, so maybe it was 9. Yeah, and so we had a little bit of time at the end, and she said, "Ask me anything." So I asked her whether or not we should still have hope for a season 5, and she's very honest, and she won't sugarcoat anything, but she basically said
tells
that
the truth.
Yeah, she basically said she isn't really involved in making the deal for finding the distributor, but that she had spoken to the producers recently, and they told her they're still working on it. And that they have 2 networks that that are the front runners basically for getting the show back on the air, and they are the CW and IMDb. Mm-hmm. So I think we still have hope for this show to survive and to thrive. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful that whatever work is going on in the background, and the Earpers keeping Wynonna Earp in the trending topics on Twitter and in socials, that will lead us to find that distributor, and we'll be good to go for season 5.
Yeah,
that's my hope.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So kind of, and I'm going to segue back into, so when I was talking to Kat, I was telling her about A Quiet Place Part 2, because I went back to the theater for that movie. So I'm going to segue into the things we're nerding out about.
Yeah.
And talk about the A Quiet Place Part 2 movie that I went to the theater to see.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was the first time in over a year, and I love movies, so it's been really hard not being able to go to a cinema and watch an actual movie. But this one, it was like the perfect reintroduction into that world. That film really does it gains a lot from that environment, because you really get like with all the sound and everything, and the lack of sound in this specific movie, it's almost as if silence is its own character in the movie. It's eerie, but it's well done. But yeah, so I'm not going to give too many spoilers about the movie because it did just come out, but I will say that it does start with a flashback to when the invasion initially started, the day of, and what happened with the family. Emily Blunt plays the mother, John Krasinski plays the dad. They're married in real life, but and then they have I think it's 3 children in the first movie. So anyway, it's them just living Americana life, like there's a little league baseball game happening, and while the sun is up at bat, he sees something streaking across the sky, and it's the invasion has begun basically. And so the whole town is like there at this little league game, and they all kind of like, they see it, and they immediately, just everybody starts to get up very quietly and calmly and just kind of like leave the game, because they don't know what it is and what's happening. But it just, I loved that whole flashback was really, really just, I love the way they did it, because it really, it gives you a sense as if you were there yourself. Mm-hmm. And, you know, something is happening where you have no idea what's going on. Nobody does. And you just have to deal with what's coming. So it doesn't take very long for the aliens to actually get into the really populated part of town. And it's, you know, it shows how the family, you know, they've split up into two groups, you know, the dad and the daughter, and then the mom and the other two kids are in a separate vehicle, and how the aliens come down, and how they get reunited and whatnot. But it also sets up some of the characters for the second movie, specifically one of the guys at the game. He's a dad. One of his kids is in the game as well. And just the fact that they knew each other, they had a good rapport with one another. And then it flashes forward in time to current day, which picks up right where the other movie left off, which if you're a fan at all of the first movie, it's great, because it's just like it just flows right in. In fact, you still see the alien, you know, there's a spoiler alert on the first movie, but there's a dead alien on the floor. The barn is on fire. The barn where they have basically built a shelter underneath the barn so that they can hide from the aliens. Okay. The barn itself is on fire. And you see the daughter climb up, like, I think it's a grain silo. I'm not really 100% on that, but she climbs up and starts a signal fire, and she's looking out on the horizon, and she sees another signal fire that finally lights up, and then it's them traveling towards that other fire. And, you know, they have to be very, very quiet, because like I said, in our first episode, the aliens react to noise, any type of noise. They will come for you, and they will just kill you. They're not like an intelligent, from what I can tell, they're not really an intelligent life form. They don't like noise, apparently, or they just react to it. So they're going to come right to you and take you out. So
do they just kill you, or do they eat you? I mean, what's their motivation?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't seem like they even have a motivation other than the fact that they react to noise, and if they find you, they're going to kill you. I don't even remember seeing them really eat anybody, to be honest. That's the one cool thing about the movie too, is the fact that it's not overly gory. The aliens are done really well. Like, the CG is really, really good. And, but yeah, you never really see, like, even when, you know, they're attacking people, it's done in a way where it's not like, you're not seeing blood splattering everywhere. It's not, you know, it's not like a horror movie. It's more of a suspense thriller, you know, like, how are they going to get out of this situation type of thing.
Was it rated R?
You know, I think it was rated PG-13. PG? Yeah, it's PG-13.
Like... Okay.
And it was an hour and 37 minutes long, the second movie. And I highly recommend, if you haven't seen the first one, definitely watch that one first. But definitely watch it. And then I highly recommend going to the theater to see the second one. Because it's an entire experience. Of course, we know, you know, we've been to movies throughout our lives, you know, with the lockdown and everything, kind of taking that away from people like me who love the cinema. Like, I go to movies all the time normally in a normal world. What is normal though? But yeah, it was a great reintroduction into the theater, and a great film. Definitely held up to the first one, and I can actually see where they might want to take it into a third movie. So it might become a trilogy, which would be really, I would be down to see a third installment of this world. But yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't. It's in theaters only. It's not going to be on any streaming services.
Okay.
And again, many thumbs up.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
That's cool that you got to go.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, it's funny because I was one of probably maybe 6 or 7 people in the entire theater, which is funny also because it's broken box office records of even the first one. And, you know, just post-COVID, you know, in a post-COVID world, it's breaking records. So it's like the return to theater, cinema as it was pre-COVID. So
yeah,
it's pretty awesome. What have you been nerding out about?
Well, the wedding of I'm not even going to call it the wedding of the century because it was the wedding of Shondaland. In typical Grey's Anatomy Station 19 fashion.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed.
Okay, but you don't sound really thrilled.
Yeah, it you know what? We've been spoiled.
We have with Wynonna Earp. Yes,
Wynonna Earp has spoiled us to the point where even when shows are tremendously well done, they still don't hold a candle. So it's we get a quite a bit of Maya and Karina. They're dancing in the kitchen before the ceremony with each other, and they're all happy and giddy, and everything is wonderful. And there's a little bit of freaking out about what we're gonna wear, and there's some hair business, and this is a spoiler. So if you haven't seen it, and you don't want to know, stop listening now. But Andy actually is helping Maya get ready, and they're on the way to Vic's parents' restaurant is where they're going to have the ceremony.
Right, yeah.
And so Andy's driving Maya, and she's insisting that Maya needs to have her parents there, and Maya hasn't come out to her parents, and she doesn't have a really good relationship with her father. And he's just he's abusive, and she's mad that her mother has gone back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Andy finally convinces Maya that, you need to, it's your parents, this is your wedding, you need to have them there, or at least tell them so they can make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so Maya finally agrees, and they, they take a detour, and they end up at Maya's parents' house, and she knocks on the door, and the father answers, and, she says, I need to tell you that I'm bisexual, or queer, as they call it today. I'm in love with a woman, and I'm marrying her today, and you can come or don't come, I don't care. And she looks at her mom and says, it makes me mad that you're cowering in the hallway again.
Mm-hmm.
And Karina and I would like you to come live with us whenever you're done taking abuse from this man. And she turns around and walks away.
Oh, wow.
Which was pretty, I didn't do it justice, obviously, but it was
well, it sounds like a very intense moment.
Yeah, it was an intense moment, especially for her. I mean, she's overcome that abuse from him, and moved on, and now she's trying to save her mother as well. So yeah, so the ceremony was, like I said, short and sweet. Maya forgot that they were supposed to write their vows, and so they end up not even exchanging vows.
Okay, that's a little strange.
Yeah, and again, this is how I've seen it done on Grey's. It's how Callie in Arizona basically got married, and it's how Meredith and
Derek
McDreamy got married.
Yeah,
Derek, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So I shouldn't be. None of us should be surprised. And again, the fact that Karina didn't really want. She still doesn't even want to be married. She doesn't believe in marriage. She's only doing this to basically for the legal part of it right now.
To stay in the country because
to stay in the country, right?
Her visa expired, right?
Right, exactly. So. It's sweet, it's wonderful. There's some drama going on with the straight couples.
When isn't there?
When isn't there? Dean, they keep encouraging Dean to go tell Vic that he loves her, and he finally gets up the courage, and she's already gone back to the I can't remember the guy's name, the firefighter that
that killed Montgomery's husband.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he didn't kill him, but he
was responsible for his death.
Yeah. So there's a whole exchange between Montgomery and Vic, and he tells her, we're friends. I'm over this guy. Go ahead. If you want to, if you want to get with him, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was really sweet. There were some really sweet moments, and we kind of get to see Maya and Karina dancing off in the background again because, God forbid it's their wedding reception. But, why show the married couple? I mean,
yeah,
that just doesn't make any sense.
That's infuriating, to be honest. Like, come on. Like, they're the married couple.
Yeah.
Stop hiding us in the background.
But the story wasn't about them at that point. It was about all the other drama that was going on.
Right.
And then the of course that was the season finale, so there has to be this giant cliffhanger, and
oh yeah, of course.
It's again, spoiler if you're still listening and you still don't want it spoiled. During the course of this episode, we find out that, and I can't remember Andy's husband's name at the moment.
Sully.
Sullivan. So during the course of the episode, we find out that the Station 19 had gone on a call a couple of days before, and something happened. They rescued a youth, and the aid car was already gone, and he needed assistance, and Maya, as the captain, decided that she was going to go ahead and load the kid on one of the fire trucks, which is against protocol, and there was another fire chief there that said, no, you can't do that, and she did it anyway. So long story short, Sullivan sells her out basically to this guy because he wanted the other captain wanted to fire them all and close down Station 19, and Sullivan's like, well, you can't do that, but make me the captain and I'll whip them back into shape. So basically Maya loses her captain status.
You've got to be kidding me. Yeah. Of course. Yep. Take the woman out of the seat of power for one mistake where Sullivan was like, never mind.
Yeah. So we're pretty much mad at him, and but I honestly think if they continue the character arc the way, they've been building her, I think that she'll fight that. I think she'll, when we get next season, I think we're gonna get, we're gonna get a fired up Maya, not okay, I'm gonna go in the corner and lick my wounds Maya. But yeah,
and as it should be, she should fight for her position and her job, and yeah, I don't know. But everything I've heard about the episode, I haven't watched it yet, obviously, but everything I've heard about it is it's got my fur up, if you will. Yeah. So yeah, and I love this show. Yeah, I do love this show. Sorry,
go ahead.
No, you go.
No, the two of them looked absolutely beautiful, and it was, what we did get of them was nice. So.
Yeah, good. Well,
and a side note, I watched they did an IG Live again, the actresses.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't know this about her. Name's Danielle Savray.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not pronouncing that right, because anyway, she donated her eggs to her queer best friend and his husband, and the surrogate is now pregnant, so they're having a baby.
Wow. So the actress donated her eggs for her best friend, who's gay and married.
Yes.
And they're having a baby. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
The surrogate is pregnant. Yeah, so they announced that at the end of the IG Instagram Live right before this episode aired. So I thought that was something amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That, she would go to that length for someone she cares about.
And of course, the other thing that I nerd out about is Handmaid's Tale.
Yes. I am all caught up, so I'm there with you.
That's good. So so episode 8 just aired. It's called The Testimony, and again, another episode directed by Elizabeth Moss, who is obviously, the lead actress, plays June Osborne. And apparently I was also reading a little bit up on this, that she actually specifically asked for this episode, and she asked for the episode 3, which is the one that she directed earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. So episode 3 with and one of my favorite scenes of that is when she's kissing Nick goodbye on the bridge, and the camera just spins around them. That was just so poignant. But she's also directing the next episode, so episode 9, called The Passage. But I'm extremely impressed with her directing skills. Her choices are, I think, making even a larger impact on the program in itself, because who better to direct the character than the person who's been playing this character for 4 seasons now.
Right.
I don't know, we definitely don't have to go into, the explicit detail about what the episode was about, but it's called The Testimony, so she's testifying basically against the Waterfords, and Elisabeth Moss specifically made the choice of having June not be over dramatic when she was giving her speech. It's like, June is not an actress.
Mm-hmm.
June is a human being who's been through trauma, and so she made the choice to give that speech as a very flat, very unemotional delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you still see the trauma on this woman's face. And I think it was about halfway through the speech when she was looking down, and then she literally looks up into the camera, like breaks the fourth wall.
Yes.
And looks up into the camera, right?
Yep.
And I got chills.
Yeah. And
I
believe she was tearing up at that time too. Like, it was just, again, her choices as a director were really good. I can see why they're letting her stretch her wings and take up that mantle for the show.
Yeah. And I really liked the way they are letting her be angry without being overly destructive. And I loved how she got, I think her name is Emily.
Yes.
Yeah. I loved how she allowed her to be angry and after the aunt did what she did, it's like, Emily's like, no, I'm glad.
Even with her husband, Luke, you can tell she's trying to get people angry. She's trying to get them to react.
Yeah.
The character, not Elisabeth Moss, but
right.
June is trying to get all these people who have been living in Canada away from Gilead, which is, the former United States in this show. She's trying to get them angry again because she's still so very angry about all the things that she had to survive. And she feels like, you can just tell looking at her as the character, that she can't believe that they're all just gonna status quo, like nobody is up in arms about
feeling.
It. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Everybody has kind of closed themselves off from reliving any of that trauma, which I completely get from,
right.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't,
right? Exactly. Yeah. But the fact that she's still so fresh out of it, and she wants to get them all up and, she wants to get them excited. It might not be the right word, but she wants to almost
deal with it,
start a revolution. Like I'm getting those vibes. Like she wants to get a group of people to go back and take the country back, or I don't know if it's going to go that route, but that's the feeling I'm getting.
I think it's clear that Commander Lawrence and Aunt Lydia are not done with her.
Yeah.
Because they've mentioned her, in the episode, and I saw just a brief snippet of the preview, and June is back, or either that or Nick is in Canada, but they're standing apart from each other in front of a large building. So somehow they get back together. I don't think they'll get romantically back together, but physically they're going to be in the same general area to look at each other. So I hope that she doesn't go back to Gilead, but I'm gonna freak out if she does. I can tell you that right now, because it's like, oh my God, you got out, stay out.
Exactly.
I know I get your child is there. I totally get that, but yeah. So.
Yeah, but enough is enough. It's like we need some good to come out of this. Like it's been 3.5 seasons of torture,
trauma.
Yeah, trauma and torture, and just it will be good to see her in a different light. I've told you before, I can only take this show in small doses because it really gets get you. Like
it's intense.
Yes, it's
an
extremely intense. And yeah, so it'll be good to see how she plays, you know, this new part of her character, being outside of that environment.
What did you think of Aunt Lydia's response when she went in the room with Janine, and, you know, basically she was trying to tell Janine that, you know, she needs to go back to being a handmaid, and Janine saying, no, I don't want to. And then I was really shocked that Aunt Lydia was crying, and like she hugged her and she was crying. And then I realized that she's a psychopath and she thinks that, you know, this person is her child.
Yeah.
And she feels for the, you know, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, in her mind, yes, she cares immensely about her handmaids, and yeah, I mean, cares is, you know. If you care about somebody, you don't torture them, you don't force them to be raped and what have you. But apparently,
take their child from their arms.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, as far as that interaction, I was happy that Janine survived. I had a feeling they weren't going to kill her that easily, and I was also really happy to see Janine kind of step into her power, in a sense, as you know, she wasn't that meek, scared little girl anymore.
The yes girl.
Yes, yes, exactly. She wasn't afraid to say, I know what's going to happen, but don't send me back. Like she was willing to say what she needed, even though she, you know, chances are she's not going to get what she wants. But it was just good to see that side of her. And I think that whole, you know, this whole season, you know, has been her kind of breaking out of that mold that they had created for that character. And she's starting to kind of like take ownership of her own life again, in a sense. And even though she won't be able to, right. Well, and even though she won't be able to truly like have full control of herself, it's like she's had an awakening. You know, she knows that this place is a terrible place. She knows she doesn't want to be part of it.
It's like June rubbed off on her.
Yes, exactly. And that in a good way, you know, like she kind of gave her the fight, you know, which is what she needs if she's going to be in that environment, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
So
okay,
yeah. Another thing that I saw, I was scrolling Twitter, as we do. I found an article from The Nerdist. It's a Twitter account that I follow, and it was actually about United Airlines is going to be launching a fleet of 50 supersonic jets.
50.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And they're going to be able to travel from New York to London in 3.5 hours. Newark to Frankfurt in 4 hours, and San Francisco to Tokyo in 6 hours.
Is that like a 12-hour flight regular now, or?
I think going from New York to London, I think it's about 10 hours, I want to say.
Okay. So that's without time zone, all the time zone mess too.
Yeah, no, just 10 hours. Yeah, just 10 hours of travel,
10
right?
Actual hours. Yeah.
And that will cut down to 3.5, which, you know,
wow.
I love to travel. So this is like really exciting.
You booked your ticket already?
No, well, that's, you know, funny you should say that, but you know, they're predicting that it will be for the super ultra rich, you know, at first. The ticket prices will probably be in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not, you know, it's not going to be mainstream anytime soon.
Right.
I mean, and this isn't even going to happen until 2029, but I just thought it was really cool that they have this technology, and the cool even better is the fact that they run on sustainable aviation fuels, which are made up of waste oils from animals and plants. So they're carbon neutral. They're not going to leave a carbon footprint, which, you know, in today's day and age and everything with the environment, that's pretty significant. And an interesting fact is that they're actually going to fly at 60,000 feet, which is about double where normal airlines fly. I believe most of them fly right around 30,000 feet.
Yeah,
right?
30,000. Yeah. So
yeah, they're going to actually go up almost where you're going to be able to see space.
I was going to say, you're almost in outer space that high.
So that in and of itself is really cool. Imagine looking out your window and you can actually see, you know, deep space. you know what I mean?
I don't know that that would be an enjoyable thing. I'm not sure I I want to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would totally be down for trying it for sure.
Yeah.
But like I said, they're not even going to launch the fleet until 2029, and then it's only going to be for the ultra rich, unless, you happen to have tens of thousands of dollars sitting around and you want to take a 3.5 hour flight or whatever, but
just for the hell of it.
Yes, exactly. So,
I want some tea and crumpets. Let's go to London. Okay.
I mean, but that 3.5 hours and you're in London, like
London, I know.
Wow. So I can't wait to, see what happens with that technology, and hopefully it won't be too far down the road where, it will be open for just normal travel, and maybe that will be the new way of travel instead of the airplanes we currently have. Mm-hmm. So I just thought that was really interesting. And
yeah.
So should we move on to our deep dive into that docuseries? Yeah. It's called Equal, and it was on HBO Max. And it's a 4-part docuseries, and it's narrated by Billy Porter. Which I enjoyed immensely. Yes. I thought he was very upbeat and thorough and entertaining. Mm-hmm. And the garage door. Fuck the garage door. Fuck it all to hell. I think they're closing it. Hold on.
Well, at least they're coming in and going and closing it and not waiting for 15, 20 minutes.
I know.
Thank you, neighbors.
Hopeful. Okay. All right. Go ahead. So yeah, it was narrated by Billy Porter, which it
was a good choice. I thought it was a good choice to have it narrated the way they did.
Yeah, and also, just so you know, there were 20 producers for this docuseries.
Oh, wow.
One of which was Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He's gay, as, you know, he came out a while ago. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool to see that, he's actually taking, his status and using it for something, this...
Well, now that you mentioned that, I noticed it was also a Greg Berlanti production as well, so he's part of the CW, or he runs basically the CW. I don't know what his official title is, but he is also family.
Oh, well,
also queer. So
yeah, and from what I could tell, it seemed like it was made up of a lot of queer actors, queer producers. I'm assuming they had queer writers too.
Probably, yeah. I would hope so, because it is about pride and being queer.
Yeah.
So speaking of, I don't know if you want to go. Just a couple of actors that I recognized right away.
Right.
And caught their names. So Samira Wiley from Orange Is the New Black and Handmaid's Tale.
Right. Yes.
She's in that.
Yes. Sarah Gilbert.
Roseanne
and
Darlene, and she played Leslie Winkle in The Big Bang Theory as well.
Right.
And was a co-host of The Talk.
Yes.
And then Keanu Lansdale, he plays Wally, Wally West on The Flash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I recognized him right away.
And you would recognize all the CW, actors.
Yeah, there were also a couple of actual trans actors, and I don't know the actor's name, but I've seen her on the new L Word.
I know who exactly. I know the exact
I don't know her
actress
name,
you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I recognized her too. And her name is Jamie Clayton.
Okay,
I just looked her up. She played Christine Jorgensen in one of the episodes.
In episodes, yeah.
And
she's
also
actually in more than one. She's actually in more than one episode of L Word.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And Cheyenne Jackson, he played Dale Jennings, which we can get into a little bit more detail. But Cheyenne Jennings is on a new show called Call Me Kat with Mayim Bialik.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's on, I want to say it's on Hulu. And he is a gay actor. He was also on Julie and the Phantoms. Did you watch that show?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I got you to watch that one. No. Yeah, he's a great actor. Everything I've seen him in, I enjoy his acting. So that's just another, name.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a queer run, queer, acted, queer centric program, and I found it, quite enjoyable. So,
I'm looking at the IMDb for it, and Gail Harold, who played in what is it called? Not the L Word, the male version.
Queer
as Folk. Yes, sorry. So Gail Harold, who played in Queer as Folk as Brian in the American series, was in it as well.
Really? I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I'm gonna have to go back and search him out. But he's listed in the credits for the show.
He's got to be quite a bit older now because Queer as Folk was on.
Yes.
A long time ago.
Yeah, and that was an excellent show too.
It was. I love that show.
Did you watch the British one too, or just the American version?
Just the American. Yeah.
Ditto. Yeah. Same thing. But I loved it. It was one of my favorite shows for a while. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there was a bunch of queer actors featured in the show, in the docuseries, and I think we'll just do a quick overview of each of the episodes. There were 4 of them. The first episode was called The Birth of a Movement, and it predated even Stonewall, because most people, or most queer people, assume that Stonewall was the actual beginning of the gay rights movement, and that is actually not true. It was actually where Stonewall was where it really ignited the fire of the movement. Where it brought everybody together, because that was like the point where enough was enough. But I digress. So the birth of the movement. The quote that they played at the beginning, it stuck with me, so I made sure I wrote it down. And it was actually Jose from, I think it was the 2nd episode, or maybe it was the 3rd episode. I didn't catch his last name, unfortunately, but he said, it was a recording from back in the day, and he said, "United we stand, or divided they'll catch us, one by one. Division is the fastest way they can wedge in, divide you, and win the battle," which I thought was very poignant and very true. And especially, with everything that just happened recently, with Black Lives Matter, and seeing all those, what was being called riots, but really they were peaceful protests that the police were trying to incite. Anyway. So it just basically talks about the history of there were 2 secret societies. One was gay men, and one was lesbians.
Mattachine Society and the Daughters of the Politists.
Politists, yes.
Yeah.
And it was just... Which is
I still find fascinating even now, and me coming up in the queer ranks. I mean, I came out, I've been out for 30 years. I was in my mid-20s when I came out, so what is that? I don't even know. 80s? I don't even know it. I can't do math. I don't know.
Math is hard. Let's go shopping. That's a quote from The Simpsons. Malibu Stacy. Anyway, moving on.
But even when I was a young queer, we didn't. First of all, we didn't call ourselves queer because that was the slur.
It was a slur.
We just didn't. We just didn't. We hadn't owned it yet. But even then we were still divided, male and female. There were many times, and in this program, I need to finish my thoughts. There were many times, that there were gay bars that were men only, and you still as a woman weren't allowed in,
right.
Even in the 70s. And of course, I wasn't going to the bars in the 70s because I was just a child. I forget where I was going with that. Oh, so the fact that they had, these 2 separate societies, and one was men and one was women,
right.
is a testament to the fact that we still hadn't had the women's movement. We still hadn't had, equal rights for, blacks, or anything had happened. And we're only talking about, this is right around, we're talking about the 50s, the late 50s, early 60s. So it's not that long ago.
No.
I'm 56. So that was 60 years ago.
So prior to the previous administration of the United States, I was definitely under the wool had been pulled over my eyes, and I was constantly saying, something along the lines of, well, it's 2014, like, like, get over it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trying to dismiss that, we shouldn't have these, same problems that have been plaguing our people, for years and years and years, thinking that, we've already won the fight, and that it couldn't be further from the truth.
The fight's never over.
That's right. It is never over, unfortunately. But that was why I liked the Daughters of Bilitis. Their motto was, hold on, I wrote it down.
They had a couple of different ones, I thought.
Qui vive.
Yeah.
And it was French for stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Which is a very good reminder, especially nowadays, when we, for people like me who thought, oh, we're so past, all that hate and everything. Unfortunately, we're not. So we do need to stay vigilant and stay united. And we have just as much of a right to participate and be part of society as the rest of the world's, or as
we know that.
Yeah, exactly.
We know that.
We do know that. But yeah. So it was just a good reminder. But a lot of interesting things were happening around that time. It was post-war. Cops were basically entrapping gay people left and right, going to bars, raiding them. They would even publish your name and your address in the paper.
If you were arrested,
yes,
they published your name and your address in the daily newspaper on the front page, and most people lost their jobs and their homes, and and friends, just because of, and their churches, and just think about the struggles of being homeless and jobless, and in late 50s, early 60s, when the war is just ending and the economy is in the shitter, and how we've overcome what we've overcome.
Right. I mean, and it wasn't easy. Let me tell you, especially in this docuseries really does give you a really good idea of what they had to face. Back then,
Yeah.
And even Kinsey published his book that saying that 1 out of every 10 people are gay, homosexual, which it was kind of it was good and it was bad, because I think it was good because it showed that we're just like everybody else, and there's more of us than you think there are.
Right. It made people realize that they weren't alone.
Exactly.
Who had never met anyone like them.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, it also brought us more into the spotlight, and the people that had a problem with that, obviously weren't going to just sit by idly and just let us go on about our merry way.
Leave us alone.
Exactly, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it even delved into the fact of the Lavender Scare, where the U.S. government wouldn't allow homosexuals to hold federal employment positions because we were quote unquote security threats, considered a security threat. And that came after the Red Scare with McCarthy, and him going after communism. And
if you were a communist, you were gay, and if you were gay, you were a communist. I mean, they were synonymous terms at one point.
Yep.
Which is, ludicrous.
Yeah, it is ludicrous. But yes, I mean, it was a completely different time then, where gay people had no rights, basically. No. They could arrest you for anything. They could entrap you. There was a story of Dale, Dale Jennings. He, in 1952, he was arrested after he was out on a walk. An undercover cop saw him, followed him back to his place, basically tried to force him to make a pass at him. And when he didn't, he forced himself on Dale, and then arrested him for lewd
solicitation.
Solicitation and lewd conduct and all that. Yeah. So, that was like, during that time, that was like the beginning stirrings of the gay rights movement, which was very important to, for where we are right now. Like, I feel like I can go outside. I can be who I am. I've never, knock on wood, never had anybody approach me and, threaten me in any manner. I feel lucky in that sense. you know, and I mean, I'm not overly feminine looking, so it's not like I'm just passing, you know, for being straight.
Yeah.
You can tell if you look at me that I'm probably gay. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be in the positions we are right now had it not been for these people who really did forge the way,
paved the way.
Yes.
Yep.
And fought hard to secure the rights we have today. Some of the people, Phyllis Lyon and Del Martin, they were two lesbians who met in Seattle in 1949. And they worked at a publishing company, I believe. I was having a hard time hearing that one, but
yeah.
They got involved. They were the founding members of the Daughters of Bilitis, which was the lesbian version of the Mattachine Society. Yep. And they basically they knew they needed to organize. They knew that we needed to get all gay people, you know, to come together and to stand together as one. Which, you know, I find it funny though that they moved to San Francisco in 1953, and it took them 2 years before they found another lesbian. Yeah, that's a long time to not find anybody like you. And imagine if it was just one or the other on their own, you know, not having each other. So.
But you know, the funny part about that is once we find each other, you know, and it was bookstores and, you know,
yes,
private parties, and once we find each other, then it's like, oh, there we are. You know, here's everybody. Where you been hiding?
Yeah, here's my family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what they did. They started meeting in each other's homes to prevent, you know, going to a bar and being arrested just for having a drink at a bar. You know,
it was against the law for a bar to serve a gay person alcohol. It was against the law.
Yep. Which, again, is like
ridiculous.
What? Yeah. It is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous.
I'm probably cutting into your episodes, but that's how Stonewall actually came about, was because the mafia at the time decided they were going to run the bar, and they had the cops in their back pocket, and so they could serve alcohol to the gays and not be raided and shut down, because it was the mob and the cops weren't going to go against the mob. So that's how Stonewall came about.
Right.
The bar itself.
Yeah. So that was episode 4 of the series, was the Stonewall riot.
Yeah.
So Dale Jennings' story, of his arrest and his trial, was kind of where the gay rights movement really kind of the embers kind of were catching, as far as, you know, the Mattachine Society basically came to his aid and said that they were going to help him, you know, defend himself against the ridiculous charges that, you know, they were just trumped up anyway. But he ended up winning his case, and that's actually when the Mattachine Society exploded with chapters all across the country. And that's when the founding members basically, they realized it had become much bigger than them, and they were kind of like taken out of the equation. So it kind of got a life of it took on a life of its own, and just exploded from there. But at the same time, so the Mattachine Society, they published a magazine called One. And it was where they would, you know, share stories. And at that time, that's what they did. They shared the story of Dale's arrest and how he actually won his court case. And that was what prompted more and more chapters of the Mattachine Society to pop up all over the country.
And they were called different things too. There were other movements and groups forming at the same time. So
yes, and right around that same time as well, the Daughters of Bilitis, which was the lesbian group, they had started their own magazine called The Ladder, and eventually the two groups found each other, and in 1965 they enlisted the help of some ministers to try to reach people, you know, and let them know that gay people weren't evil, you know, they were just regular people wanting to live their lives. So then the second episode jumps into transgender pioneers. which, go ahead.
It's actually because we didn't have like, it wasn't transgender, it was more transsexual at that point.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, you know what? It was trans, period. It was both.
Right.
Because an individual, and I don't remember her name, but
are you talking about
actually
Christine Jorgensen?
Yeah, Christine Jorgensen, who was, it killed me that they described it as, he was a man and got converted to a woman. It's like, what is he, a convertible? It just opens the, pushes a button and his roof comes off. And what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting what people believe, because they're just, they just go along, they toe the line,
Yeah, you got to look at the times too. I mean, people were so naive. It's like, the questions that they would ask this poor woman, and she would, graciously answer them all. How do you have sex? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way when
Sorry,
they started.
I get fired up about that.
No. Yeah. I mean, they were constantly asking,
oh my God,
are you a woman? Do you think you're a woman? If she had sex, how you had sex.
Yeah, how do you have sex? Really? You're really asking this woman
very
this?
Personal and also ignorant questions that are just not necessary.
Again, it was the time
right
when people had absolutely no clue, and everything that was different was, this fascinating thing that they had to put you on a pedestal and just observe, and make a spectacle basically of your life.
Right.
Thankfully we don't do that anymore, right?
If only.
Yeah. But
and the one quote
felt for her.
Yeah, and the one quote that I loved that she said was, "Nature made a mistake, which I have corrected." So it is that simple, and the fact that I guess I didn't realize that sexual reassignment surgery was happening that early,
that long
in
ago.
our history.
Yeah.
I thought it was more of a modern advancement.
I think that probably what we're thinking of is the, his surgery was probably not anywhere near sophisticated. It couldn't have been as it is today. Unfortunately, I think many people who had ventured into sexual reassignment surgery didn't survive because of infection.
Yeah.
There was a very dangerous thing, even though, hers was successful.
Yeah, I mean, and they basically focused on 3 different transgender people who had kind of made an impact during their time. Lucy Hicks Anderson, what was his name? Jack Starr, who also went by some other names, and Christine Jorgensen.
Yeah.
And just how they had to really, I mean, there was, so actually it was predating Stonewall. There was a place called Compton's Cafeteria, and they basically, the police came in and tried to, basically
bust it up.
Yeah, bust it up. And that was the first time that the gays fought back, basically in our history. They just said enough is enough. So, and that again predates Stonewall, which growing up I was like, once I was in the realm of queer and queer people, I was always told that Stonewall was really the beginning of the movement. So,
well, I mean, how else are we going to learn this stuff? Where it's not going to be taught to us in the history books of the straight, the straight world, and we don't have, as an elder queer, even I'm learning, new things about our history, and so it's like we don't have this one-stop shop you can go to and learn all these things. So I think these programs like this or shows like this are, extremely beneficial.
Absolutely. And and very timely too. The fact that episode 3 was Black is Beautiful, Gay is Good. And it was all about how Black queer people had even a harder struggle than just Black people or just queer people. Like they had double the problems,
double whammies.
Yeah. Exactly. Double the problems because of who they are and their skin color. Like it just it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so the third one just talked about, kind of how the civil rights movement worked with the gay rights movement, and they kind of joined forces and, made a lot of strides together. And which, reminds me of, Black Lives Matter. It just, that just happened. And, the fact
still
that
fighting 60 years later.
Yes, that we're still having to stand up and say, yes, Black people matter, and gay people do as well, and we all have a place in society, and stop telling us to be one thing or another, or saying that we're not of value. So just really, really well done series. A lot of really interesting stories of how the movement really progressed from those early stages. I mean, it even very briefly touched on the 20s and the 30s, and then it kind of went into the 50s and the 60s. And, gay people started to organize and picket and,
Fight back.
Yeah, basically, and just fought for our place in society.
Yeah.
And, and then the fourth episode was, of course, Stonewall. It was called Stonewall: From Rebellion to Liberation. And it was a gay bar in Greenwich. And it's just the whole fourth episode is from the perspective of a lot of the people that were actually at the initial event. Yeah. And the one thing that I loved about, the whole, the Stonewall event, we'll call it, was that one of the people who was being arrested yelled, "Why don't you guys do something?" to the people who were standing around watching the police do what they were doing. And that's when the fire was ignited. Yes.
Yeah, they fought back.
And the next year was when the first Pride happened, Pride March. And that was the beginning of, we are not going to hide anymore. We are who we are. And you're going to stop treating us, as victims, and we are going to take our power, and we'll show you that we are, we have every right to be, and I keep saying it over and over, but we have every right to be part of this society, and we are not bad people just because of who we sleep with. So
it's a good show. I enjoyed it.
So let's talk about some of the things that are coming up. Let's do our nerd alert.
I'm excited about the L Word Generation Q. They announced the season 2 premieres on August 8th.
Oh, that's going to be great. I really enjoyed the first season of this reboot in that world. So I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know if you caught, but Rosie O'Donnell is going to be Tina's fiance.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. This is news. This is like breaking news.
Breaking news. I was hoping that Bet and Tina would get back together because I don't know.
I think.
Good. I'm glad we agree on that, because I know that there's some schools that, or some schools of thought that, they don't have any business being together, but I've missed them to being, a couple since they broke up. But so I don't know if that's, a catalyst for, I don't know I have no idea what the storyline is, but I just did read that Rosie O'Donnell is playing the fiance.
That's interesting, and fiance. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had not heard that yet. So August 8th, and it's on Showtime. So
so I need to go back and get Showtime because I canceled it because that's all I watch.
Same. And FYI, or just so you know, my Hulu account got hacked the other day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and somebody signed me up for Hulu Live TV, Showtime, HBO Max, Cinemax, and Stars. And
well, you're all set then.
I ended up contacting them and I was like, I did not authorize any of this. Like, refund my money, because they wanted when it was all said and done, it was going to be over $100 a month.
Yeah, that's friggin' expensive.
I was happy with my membership the way it was. $12.99 or $11.99 a month.
I hope you went and changed your password.
I did. Yes, on everything. Yes, I did.
Good.
Yeah. So, but I had Showtime for a hot minute is kind of where I was going with that. But I will have to actually get it again once.
Yeah, me too.
Once the show comes back on, for sure. One thing that I'm actually looking forward to this week, I know we talked about it last episode, but Loki is premiering on Disney Plus on June 9th.
It's Wednesday, I think.
Yes.
That's going to cut into my Handmaid's Tale viewing, but I'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, and it's
no, I want to watch it.
No, I know, but it's a streamer, so
we can watch it whenever. Yeah.
But according to the Hollywood Reporter, they wrote just a little blurb about it, and I'm just going to quote them. So it said, Tom Hiddleston returns as the God of Mischief in the latest MCU series created by Michael Waldron. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, in which Loki stole the Tesseract, an alternate version of him is brought to the mysterious Time Variance Authority, or TVA. Loki is given the chance to either be erased from existence due to being a time variant, or help fix the timeline and stop a greater threat. And what does that remind you of, Lee? Does that sound a little bit like Legends? A little bit? Legends of Tomorrow?
Yeah, kind of. I don't understand the... He's not real? He's a variant?
He's a alternate version of himself. Yeah, like
sure.
something happened at the end of Endgame, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. Okay. But
I mean, I watched the time. I don't recall.
Yeah, the timeline.
I'm not the Marvel
skewed, I guess.
expert. You are.
Yes, I am definitely. I love myself.
The Marvel expert.
A lot of Marvel. But another cool or interesting fact about this series is that it's directed by a woman, and her name is Kate Herron. And I just read an article yesterday that said she wasn't the most well-established director, but she really wanted into this, into the Marvel universe, and basically was going to be the most, so she wanted to be the most enthusiastic person to pitch Marvel, and apparently she did a great job. She was able to get Owen Wilson to sign on, and they gave her the directing job for the series.
Good for her.
I am super excited for this series. I can't wait to talk about it here on the pod. If you have a chance, if you have a chance, check it out. June 9th, Wednesday this week. And Speaking
of female directors, and my favorite show, Legends of Tomorrow, this coming episode is going to be directed by Katie Lotz, who plays Sarah Lance, and we've seen previews for all teasers for most of what's going on this season, and this one's going to be a partially animated episode, so she had some challenges because she'd never done that before, and I read an interview where she was talking about it, so she was super excited about it, and she's actually getting to direct herself in this episode as well, so we're finally going to see Sarah, hopefully, but not her and Ava together yet, but that's fine.
But whatever. So the first episode she directed, she wasn't actually in the episode, correct?
She was not. You're correct.
Right.
Yes.
So
she was.
Yeah, it'll be good to actually see her in the episode she's directing.
Yeah. So
it can be done.
Yeah. And she's a wonderful director. I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode that she directed. So I think we won't be disappointed at all by this one. But
yeah. I'm looking forward to that too. And that's on Sunday nights on the CW.
Yeah.
Right. Another show that I'm very excited is returning for their season 2 premiere is Motherland Fort Salem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that comes back on June 22nd, so in a couple weeks. And that one is...
It's on Freeform, isn't it?
That show is on Freeform, and you can also watch it on Hulu, following, the premiere. But it's like an AU, or it's an alternate universe where the witches, from like the Salem, witch trials and everything, they basically in this series convinced the American military to let them like become the military in essence. And it focuses on 3 witches who are paired up at the academy for, these soldiers. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing where they take season 2, because there was a really good cliffhanger at the end of season 1 that I don't want to give it away, but
yeah, where are they going with that? I'm curious too.
It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do with that. So definitely check that one out as well. June 22nd, that comes back to Freeform. Okay. And cool. I think that's all I had on my list of nerd alerts. Do you have anything else, Lee?
Just one more thing. We've been kicking this around, but we're going to go ahead and say it now. There's a movie coming out on Netflix on July 21st, and it's called Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yep.
And I'm just going to read the description. It's an assassin veers off mission to rescue a child. She triggers a war with a powerful crime syndicate and reunites a gun-wielding sisterhood. And it stars Karen Gillan and Lena Headey. Lena Headey.
Yep.
It stars Karen Gillan and Lena Headey, and Angela Bassett is also in it.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's a pretty cool female-led, kick-ass kind of assassin.
Yes.
I can't wait. I love those kinds of movies. I'm super excited about it.
Super stoked to see that one too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And actually, you showed me on Twitter the other day, there was a video of Lena and Karen while they were filming. It's so funny. So Lena basically is asking where her Peruvian nuts are because she's looking for them, whatever. And she's like, I know where they are. And she walks into the adjoining area. Yeah. And she calls out Karen's name and she's like, Karen. And you hear Karen kind of say something, but you can tell she's got something in her mouth. And then Lena walks into the tented area and Karen just throws a cup of nuts at the wall and just like sits there like, what? Like, it's so funny. It just...
Not only does she throw them at the wall, they bounce off the wall and go into the trash.
Yes. But they kind of like spill everywhere too.
It was
just a very cute little like, you know, behind the scenes moment.
But they had fun together.
Yeah. It looks like they definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Karen. Is it Galan?
Galan?
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't pronounce things very well, so
I think
let's do a podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I liked her in Jumanji, the original movie, or not the original, the one with The Rock and what's his name?
I don't. You're the movie expert.
Kevin Hart.
You're the movie.
Oh,
expert.
and Jack Black. Yeah. So the original reboot of Jumanji, I loved the first one. The second one they came out with, I felt like it was kind of just redoing what they did in the first one. There wasn't much to it, but the first one was hilarious. And Karen played she played the characterization, like a character in a video game who had been like, who was being controlled by a very like meek girl. But the character itself, she could breakdance fight or like dance fight. And, she just, I don't know. I loved her in that movie. So cool. Definitely looking forward to seeing her in this new movie. Looks really interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope you have your own things that you're actually nerding out about. And if you want to let us know what any of those things are, or if you want to give us some feedback, you can reach out to us on the Twitter at nerd2nerdpod or send us an email at nerd2nerdpodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, we just want to thank you for listening, and until next time, stay nerdy.